So this is the agenda that I'm planning on going through in the next 45 minutes or so. I'll try to leave enough time for Q&A. Just go over a little bit about myself, a little bit about IMAGINiT and who we are as an organization. Probably be less than 5 minutes, and then talk about the BIM 360 platform, docs field, and how that's applicable to the substation design space and utility market in general. And I'll go into a live demonstration on some features and some functionality that I think is important to the utility industry in supporting the digital twin or the digital substation or your BIM efforts, whatever you wish to call it. I kind of use those terms interchangeably often, because I think digital twins, digital substations, BIM, they all kind of mean the same thing. It's really all about the data and bringing the data together and making sure that the right people have access to the right data and the right interface that they need. I'm gonna leave my webcam on for as much of this I can, as if I start breaking up or something, Aiden, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and let me know that, so that I can disable my cam and maybe get some better audio quality.
Yep, we'll let you know.
So a little bit, Dan Looney is also going to be presenting me. I'll let him introduce himself in a second here. My name is Scott Wolslager. I've been in the business for about 30 years. In about 6 months, it'll be 30 years. And when I started in this business 30 years ago, I started in the utility space. And most of my time spent for the first 5 years of my career was converting paper maps to digital maps of asset systems, transmission lines, primary lines, underground facilities, and mapping all the old paper information and taking that and converting it into AM/FM systems. Back in the day, we used to use tools like Esri and Intergraph's G-Frame and Frame. Prior to that, it was Centercom. So if any older people are around, you might recognize some of those names. I did quite a few projects in my career, and I'm pretty familiar with utilities workflow. After I did that, I pretty much spent the rest of my career focusing on data and data management in various ways, from Bentley's ProjectWise systems to Autodesk Vault to online collaboration systems. And today I'm going to be showing you one of those, which is called Autodesk BIM 360 Docs. Dan, if you want to introduce yourself and go on from there.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, super. Well, thanks again to the group here for the invitation. And as Scott mentioned, he's been around for quite a while, and I've been around for not quite as long as Scott, but with him and I worked together here for going on 18 years, if you can believe it, Scott. So one of the things that I just wanted to share with the group here real quick before we get started is just kind of a little bit who we are as IMAGINiT and where we kind of fit in this space. So we're a RAND Worldwide company, which is a public company. And the IMAGINiT Technologies side of our business is where Scott and I are. And so that's the Autodesk side. So a lot of folks are familiar with AutoCAD, Inventor, AutoCAD Electrical, and now this tool that you're going to see today, which is BIM 360. So we've been in that space for quite a while. We're one of the original platinum value-added resellers. I don't like the term reseller. I really like the term partner, because essentially that's really what we do with our clients is we partner on a lot of these solutions. And a lot of that actually evolves into what Scott's going to show you today, and that is how we manage and share this data. With these CAD and engineering tools, we've been able to create data for years and years. And now we have these intelligent objects, and that's not just models and 2D drawings, but it's all the ancillary data that goes along with that. So spreadsheets and checklists and all those things. That data ends up somewhere. So we spend a lot of time managing data, and not just, I'd like to say we're not CAD jockeys over here. So we can help you push the buttons. That's the easy part. But what to do with it after that is really where we get heavily involved. So we have dedicated groups within the company. We help our clients, whether they're large owners like utilities, could be universities, healthcare systems. We help them manage data from a facilities management and asset management. We even have simulation and software development teams that really get in, and Scott's going to show you today how we have access to the APIs on some of the tools and how we interface and help our clients integrate this data into other enterprise business applications that are critical. So we have a group inside of our organization that also works with a lot of the education content. So when you go online or go somewhere and take an AutoCAD or Inventor or AutoCAD electrical class, a lot of times our sister company has written that material. So we have pretty good understanding of, again, a lot of that button pushing type end of the business, but and then how our customers are going to utilize that. We have a huge staff of technical folks across the country. We're the largest Autodesk partner in North America. So, we bridge the gap from coast to coast, east, west, north, and south. So we've got clients all over the place. And Scott's just one of the guys that's been doing this for a long time. We've got quite a few folks that have been on your side of the desk before in private practice and industry. And so now are helping our clients, which there's quite a few of, integrate and adopt a lot of this technology. I'm part of the government team, and so that means that I work with a lot of these utilities, both private and public, and we work through not only Autodesk, but their GSA partner, DLT. So anyway, I'm focused on the utility industry by itself. I've got that whole sector for the United States, and look, I've noticed a lot of folks on the call here already that I've worked with, but looking to working with many of you here to come, and I'm going to turn it back over to Scott.
Helps if I unmute myself. Thank you, Dan. So the BIM 360 platform, you'd think after 9 months now of doing web meetings, I would get used to the unmute and mute buttons, but it still seems to be problematic even for me, even after doing 5 Zoom calls a day. But anyways, BIM 360 has a platform. What I would like to do here is just give you a little bit of overview of what BIM 360 is, what its strengths are, and then go into a live demonstration of how you can use this in the utility space, specifically in substations. So the BIM 360 platform, the whole point of the platform is to digitize, integrate, and predict. And really from the design all the way through construction to project handover and operations at the end. And this slide is generic in a sense of, you look at this and from a high level, you say, yeah, that's a great concept, but how do we get there? And the amount of data that's created in projects today is extreme. Compared to 30 years ago, we have much more data. We have much more rich data. We have 3D models. We have lots of in-depth specifications that relate to those 3D models and all the other information that goes with it. 30 years ago, we just talked about plan distribution and roles of plans and how people get them. Now, there's other information that perhaps maybe there are different ways to distribute that information. And that's really what the BIM 360 platform is all about, is giving people the ability to see information in perhaps the old way of 2D documentation, and then also view information in perhaps a new way of 3D documentation or 3D models. And then the prediction side of this is, if we collect all this data throughout time, throughout our projects, whether it be safety information, quality, performance checklists, things like that, it gives us some predictability using machine learning, augmented machine learning technology, and says, hey, we see there's an issue on this project that is an electrical shock issue, a safety issue. Bring that issue up to the top so that everybody sees it. And that's where predictability comes in. Understanding, what an issue that is critical to address is versus an issue that's not necessarily important. We can learn these things through past project performance. So the platform, we break it up into really four buckets: the design space, pre-construction, field execution, and handover and operations. Like a couple key things to take away from this slide are the project data, Autodesk Forge, and analytics and insight, the 3 layers here. And really, the project data is all the data that is generated throughout a project, from every document that's created, every checklist that's done, every safety thing, every meeting is tracked within a project about that information. Eventually, some of this information needs to hand over to an owner to operate their building or their facility or their substation. And really that's where the analytics, insight, and Autodesk Forge layers come in, where this project data is central. All the project data is in one place. we can now use that data in other areas by connecting it through Forge in the analytics platform. So Forge allows us to do development on top of the BIM 360 portfolio to access our data in ways that may be more important to you. And I'll show you some samples of that. But Forge is a development API, web services API. I compare it to probably the biggest cloud service provider out there today as far as applications go, services go, is Salesforce. Salesforce has the Force API. And you can access data to tie your CRM system to your accounting system, say. That's what Forge is all about, is the integration layer of integrating the data from the BIM 360 platform, perhaps to the IMS platform or something else down the road. If we look at analytics and insight, specifically in document management, these are the areas of services that we provide and that we can manage. So design clash detection is probably the most common thing, that low-hanging fruit in a 3D modeling project, and the biggest reason 10 years ago that people started doing 3D modeling was through clash detection. But also getting into data that's not necessarily related to a 3D model or even construction documents, safety issues, quality, installation checklist, things like that. That somebody puts a piece of equipment in, is, there's a checklist that goes along with the information that needs to be collected for that piece of machinery. So maybe the equipment ID, serial number, barcode, scanning, whatever the case may be, you can track all that information. Also, this names some very important things down here on the bottom, where we have everything in the cloud storage. Everybody can access it that has permissions to that data. How they can view the model. We can view the model in lots of different ways, from the iPad to the internet, just using a web browser. How do we track issues that are perhaps inside documents or just field issues? How do we track all that information and make sure that issues are resolved in a timely manner? And then one of the most significant probably things in the utility space and for any regulated organization is version control, is which document is currently the release document, and what construction personnel can see per se, or what anybody can see. And applying some approval workflows. How do we transmit information to other vendors, other subcontractors that are part of the project? And then overall reporting on where projects are sitting currently in the cycle. So if we look at it in a hub and spoke type method, document management is the center in my mind to a lot of things. I don't have it in the center here, but it's on the top of the circle here, because this document management feeds all of these other areas of focus. So design, collaboration, coordination. You have to have documents or models to be able to do coordination. And sometimes those are related to RFIs, sometimes they're related to submittals. Constructability is something that everybody always wants to be able to know. Is this even constructible? Can we get our piece of equipment into this area on the site, or is the structure in the way? Questions like that. Meeting minutes, tracking all of those. Quality safety management issues, which are very important to the utility space, is tracking safety concerns on job sites, and then again the data analytics platform. So the document management platform is a couple different parts to this. It has document distribution, document control, markups, version control, approval workflows, mobile access, and being able to edit Office 365 documents. And in this video, you're seeing a pretty simple example of somebody creating a comparison of one drawing versus another drawing to see what has changed between this version of the drawing versus the last version of the drawing. And these are good tools to have if you're unsure when you see a new version come up, what is changed and how significant the change is. This can isolate those changes and show you the modifications, additions, the deletions, the modifications really easily inside your window. You also have the ability to edit Word documents, PowerPoint documents, anything like that. So it's not specific to CAD or BIM or Inventor or AutoCAD or MicroStation. This is really any document type you can work on or view. I shouldn't say any document type. I think BIM 360 supports viewing of like 160 different document types or something like that. So pretty much any document type you can view markup, redline, version control. Design collaboration is probably less important in utility space right now, but this tool is used by people that are designing facilities generally in the building world, and anybody using Revit or Civil 3D.
Scott,
and some people that use.
Question from David Spargo here.
Sure. Go ahead.
You're good to go, Dave. You are muted right now, so you'll have to take yourself off mute. The Eternal Scourge. Oh, he says, I have no questions. You can resume.
Okay. Design collaboration is primarily used for Revit, Civil 3D, and Plant 3D for model sharing and collaboration on models. The coordination module is primarily used for collision detection and trade coordination. So you can bring all the models into a space and be able to visualize any clashes that are necessary. And the interesting thing about this is if anybody has any experience with clash detection in any of the other design tools out there, such as Navisworks or Bentley's products, this tool uniquely does clash detection in kind of real time. So as the partners are uploading their models, the cloud is processing the clashes and giving you real-time vision of those clashes instead of having to kind of manually run clashes in Navisworks or append a bunch of models together to try to find those clashes. As the coordinate model actually does that in the background on the cloud. So it's no processing power on your computer. It's all done virtually, so it is fast and very fast. Meeting minutes, a great way to track meetings as they're going along a project cycle, action items associated to those meetings, who's responsible for them, and knowing that those action items need to be followed up on by the next meeting or when a due date is, and closing those issues or items as the meetings progress. So you can document all the results of the meeting as meetings occur. And that does actually have integration with Zoom meetings. So you can actually integrate Zoom in here where it would have the recorded meeting and you can track the minutes also in there. So pretty powerful feature to be able to track everything in today's virtual world, especially. RFIs and submittals, it's a great system for tracking RFIs and knowing who needs to act upon something or when questions come up. You can track all your submittals, generate detailed reports on statuses of submittals, RFIs, who's responsible for them, who's delayed projects because they haven't responded to things fast enough, what items are open versus closed versus answered versus canceled, and any type of approval process that you can really imagine. The approval process within BIM 360 is very configurable to a lot of different organizational structures and formal review processes. There's also a cost management module to BIM 360, which may or may not be applicable to utility space, but this is also an integration point that you could do. Is so if you use something like Ecosys for your PPM solution today or something like that, This is where we can tie data together in a way where we can import information from a budget and track change orders or track work orders that are active on the project, all those types of information that go with basic cost management within a project. Quality management is probably one of the most important features in my mind when it comes to the field side is being able to QC what was installed, what equipment's there, punch lists, being able to do reporting and mobile inspections. So you have field people going out and doing inspections. Is how do you track that? Where does that information go? Who signs off on it? What pictures may be associated to that, so you can attach photographs of pieces of equipment that have problems, or what the serial number of the piece of equipment is that has an issue, or whatever the case may be, and assign it to a company or a person or a role to address that issue or quality management item. Safety management, job observation type checklists. This is important to any job construction site nowadays, is being able to walk through a checklist, make sure everybody's wearing the safety glasses, hard hats, be able to track daily logs, what happened on the site during that day. All of this information can be gathered into one platform and using your mobile device, iPad, iPhone, Android device. Then a data and an analytics platform, which is the project view of all of the important information to you, in a sense. And I'll show you some practical examples of this in a minute. So with that being said, I just want to check on how I'm doing on time. Okay. Go into BIM 360. So let me make sure I am sharing my screen still. Share screen, share the whole thing. Okay. Everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we see it.
Cool. Okay. So when you log into BIM 360, this is what it looks like. And this is my view of what is going on in my project. Let me move my video grid out of the way here. Okay, this is what's going on in my project and how I have my project dashboards set up. So I can see on my job site today, it's 47 degrees and mostly cloudy. That's the location of my project. These are the design risk issues that I have currently on my project. I have a lot of overdue issues over here. I have a lot of just one overdue review. I have a lot of incomplete documentation. Nothing really critical right now, and some code compliance issues. I can scroll down here and I can see different what we call cards, views to my project, and these are all things that I can customize or share. So I can go to my card library here, and this is just an example of all the different views you can have into data on this dashboard. So, I can scroll down. These are my project RFIs that are right up on top. I can see which ones are open versus which ones are rejected versus which ones have been submitted, which ones have been answered by the color codes here really easily. I can see it in various different capacities. I got a graph view instead of a list view here. And down here, I got my design issues by company. So here my MEP installers have 20 issues. My structural company only has 9. So I can also see that by time frame if I would like to. So just different views into that data. And that's what the project home is all about, is just what data is important to you on this project and how do you want to view it and how do you want to visualize it or respond to it. So let's go over here. So on the document management side, this is what you see when you log into a project. There's really 2 sections to BIM 360. There's the plans folder and the project files folder. So this works just like, in a sense, Windows Explorer does, or a document management system, any document management system does. It has a folder structure, and Sorry, my eyes are really watering. My allergies are driving me crazy today. This is a folder structure, and you can create any folder structure that you want. So in my example here, what I did is I have a substation design project, and I actually have this project in what's called Autodesk Vault, which is the behind the firewall data management solution. And from Vault, I synchronize the data to the cloud at release when I want that information to go up to the cloud for other people to participate in the project. I can do it at the beginning of the project, or I can do it at the middle of the project. It really doesn't matter when I do it, but I can synchronize that project data with the cloud whenever I want, or in real time. So if I look at all my data for this project, just want to show you some of the power here is general arrangement. Here is an inventor assembly of a substation. And if I want to see that assembly, I can just click on it. And it is a big, large 3D model. It takes a second to load, but not that long. And now I can scroll around and visualize that substation and see whatever I would like to within that substation. I can see all the parts of the model in this entire assembly. So if you've used Autodesk Inventor and the substation design utilities, this is how you can visualize that. Anyone can visualize that, I should say, without using or without having Inventor. I'll move my window again here. And within this model, I have a component called the model browser. And I can go to specific parts of this assembly. So I'm going to go to this sub-assembly, or this part of the assembly, or this part of the assembly, and it'll take me right to that area of focus. So anything within parts I can see, or I can see the overall assembly as well. There's also some pretty cool tool called Explode Model, which allows us to take individual components and kind of see them. What are all the components of this model? And I can control what I'm looking at in an exploded view. You can see this works really quickly. I can navigate around this model. I can close this model, and I can go to a 2D sheet just to show you that it works with that as well. If I go to just a PDF file, that's a view of the PDF file. And it calls it up, and I can go to the different sheets within that PDF file as I need to. Same thing with Word documents or Excel documents or anything like that. I can click on a Word document, and it will bring up that Word document, and I can edit it as I need to. So let's talk about a little bit more about some of the features within here. Once you are in a model or a file, we can, when you're in a model or you're in any type of file per se, you have access to some different tools here on the left. There's issues, there's markups, there's RFIs, and if there's sheets and views within here, and then there's the history of the document. So if there's multiple versions of the document, you can see them here. If there's different sheets within the document, you can see them here, 2D or 3D. RFIs, I don't think there's any RFIs in this model. Issues and markups. So there's kind of some foundational stuff that I do want to explain here. Is a markup you can create at any time, and a markup is really there's two different types of markups to your drawings per se, and they are either public markups or they're private markups. So when I hit this save markup, it saves that markup, and it says, this markup is version 2 on that scene. And I can actually add attachments if I want, other documents that may reference this, or other documents that may help with this. I can add additional markups. Well, if I look here, right now that markup says it's private. So the only person that can see this markup in my organization is me. So I relate this to the old days of when I used to put Post-it notes on my plan set. That's what this is really. It's a way for you to make notes or markup drawings in a way that you can consume that information later or reference it later. If you want everybody to be able to see that markup, all you have to do is hit published, and now this markup will be available and visible to all project participants. There's also issues. So issues are pretty flexible thing in BIM 360, and they can be used for a wide variety of reasons. And I think I got hung up there on my web connection. I'm gonna try that again. Okay. So issues can be a lot of different things. Issues can be related to design. Issues can be related to field items. And then this is just one example of an issue. So I can create an issue. An issue is, like I said, it can be a type. And these are by default what kind of types exist. Design issues, clash coordination issues, building code compliance. You can customize this list, whatever you want. I'm just going to say a requirement change. This is an open issue. What the issue is, I assign it to either a person, a company, or a role. So I can assign it to designers, say, and basically anybody that's assigned to the designer would get tagged it. I'm going to assign this to one of my coworkers here. And then what date I need them to respond to this issue by. If there's any location information that's associated with that issue, and who owns it, what the root cause is. It's a design deficiency. Incorrect. Hit create.
Scott, we did have a question here.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Kevin would like to know, is it only available to a set of people when published data, or is it the world in general?
It's whoever has permissions to the project, not the world in general. It's a good question.
Okay, and another question here. With BIM being cloud-based, does this add some flexibility to the devices that can be used to access modified documents? Historically, you'd need to have a more powerful laptop or desktop to be able to do this.
Yeah, and that's a good question, and I'll show you my iPad here in a few minutes. But yeah, you can access this from any device, anywhere. I use it on my iPhone often. I use it on my iPad often. Any device is going to be able to navigate models in the same speed because it's really just a visualization. It's all the processing is done in the cloud.
All right, thanks.
So back to that issue that I just created. On my screen now, you'll see that there is an issue that's associated to this document. I have that there. If I click on it, it'll bring up that issue or bring up my list of issues if there's multiple issues, because there could be multiple issues related to a document. And I can answer this. I assigned it to Brian in this case, but if I because I'm a project admin, I actually can take kind of ownership of this. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to do this. But just to show you what this interface looks like is I have open, answered, closed, void. So I have to do something to resolve this issue, and there's lots of different catches in here that you can do. So, this relay, if it needs to be changed, if I just say answered and I say figure it out in the field, hit done, and I close that issue, I have some accountability now in a sense, because I answered that issue, but I didn't update the document, and I can tell that because the version hasn't changed on the document. It's still on version 1, and it last was updated October 16th. So you know that this person didn't really do any changes to the document, but he hasn't answered the issue with a statement per se. And that's where review workflows might come in, where you want to put a little bit more formal process in place to actually approve things. So any document or anything can go through a review process. So if you want a document before everybody in the world sees this document, we need certain people to approve it. That's when you would submit it through a review process likely. So if I go to a submit for review, we select an approval workflow. This is going to be the workflow example I'm going to use here. And this gives me an overview of the approval process. It has to go, this is a pretty easy approval process. I think it's a 3-step approval process where it's going to go to a couple people and they're going to approve it. Or if they don't approve it, then none of this stuff will happen. But it tells me exactly what's going to happen here. Is it's going to route the PowerPoint file to a manager. They're going to make comments. Then it's going to go to the designer or director. They're going to sign off on it. Once they approve it, the director is notified and they release that document. And then this action happens. It's copying that document to another folder that everybody has permissions to, perhaps, to be able to see, review, markup, comment on that document. So if I hit submit, now this is going to go through that submittal or that review process. And I'm just going to select somebody to save this to and hit send. I can go back to my reviews tab and I can see anybody that's out there that has reviews and what the next action is and what the next action date is and how many documents are related to that. You can see here on my right too, I got my email notification saying that document is out there to be approved. Yeah.
A common question that we get on that is those workflows and those approval processes is around, do you have to do that each and every time? And maybe you can talk real quick about how you set a lot of those workflows up in the beginning that gets pulled from the project template.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And all of these workflows, you can have as many workflows and as many different workflows as you want to a project. So, you might have a different workflow for structural review process versus electrical review process. And we can set all of those up inside our BIM 360 hub so that you can apply those workflows to every project that you do or selectively do them. So you don't have to set them up on each project individually. Let me see here. I'm on time. Okay. I tend to be long-winded sometimes, so I just want to make sure I'm respectful of time here. I'm going to try to speed up a couple things to make sure I get you to another area that I think will be important to you all, besides the file viewing. It's transmittals. So one thing that I really like about BIM 360 is the integration of transmittals and being able to see when people actually look at information or data that's related to them that you need them to look at. So any document type or any folder or anything, we can create a transmittal out of. So I can select the documents that I want to include in that transmittal and just hit create transmittal. And then I type in the recipient names of who that needs to go to. So let's say Brian, save. They have view permissions to this document. That's the area that they have. Here are the documents for your view. And hit create. That notification transmittal then goes out to Brian in this case and tells him what it is. On the right here, you can see what the progress of that transmittal is. So it says he received it. That means he received the email, but he hasn't looked at it yet because it'll show up here once he does look at it that he has seen it and he has consumed the information in theory. All right, let me just go through one other thing on here and then I'll jump over to my iPad for a minute. So field management. Field management is where we can do all our checklist, safety checklists, quality checklists, things like that. So the concept of checklist is pretty easy. You have a template, which is a checklist. It's maybe a job site observation checklist. It's a precast concrete checklist. If I click on that, it'll show me what questions are being asked of that checklist. So a checklist template applies to a person generally or a company. So in my case here, where I would generally want to create an assignment to a person to complete this checklist. So I'm going to hit create checklist and I'm going to assign that to a person or a company or a group of people to complete. So over here, I can see assigned to, picking on Brian a lot today, and I want to have him finish this. Actually, I'm going to assign this to myself so you can see what it looks like on the iPad. And there we go. So I should have a checklist assignment to myself now. So checklist assignment is to myself. I am going to try to share my iPad here. Okay. Zoom. See my iPad right now? I'm trying to figure out.
We still see your old screen.
Try to share screen. Zoom. Start broadcast. Yes. All right. So let's see here. BIM 360 on the iPad. So if I go to my project, and you can see I'm navigating this project just like I was online a few minutes ago. I could see my project files. I could see my plans files. Here's my Vault data folder that I was looking at before. Here's my general arrangement. Here's my model. So I can navigate around this just using my fingers and my pinch. I can look at markups. I can look at issues related to this document. Anything that I could do on the web itself. I can look at issues as a whole. Here's an issue that I have. I can say, well, no, I want to close this issue. This one is done. I fixed it and be done. Go back to my documents. But the checklist thing is what I was wanting to show you a few minutes ago is if I go back to my checklist, these are all the checklists that I currently have that are assigned to me or other people within the organization. So, you know, this is one that's in process. I can click on it. I can say fail, true. But I also can create an issue from this screen too. So if I click on issue, I can say water and area, it's assigned to me, due date, oops, root cause, and I can attach a picture as well to this if you need to describe things from my iPad or from my iCloud. And just hit create. And now there's another new issue that will be created and tracked for compliance or whatever I need to do. And then there's also a signature field if you want people to be able to sign. You can do that as well. Okay. Go back. Back to the documents. So every file within here, just like I was looking at my model, I can look at DWGs, I can look at DGNs, I can look at any file type that is within this system and navigate it. One thing I just want to show you real quick on the iPad that's pretty nice if you have detailed information. So let me show you a different project here that has a really nice plan set. So if I look at, let's say, Revit sheets here. This is meant to be a experience. I call it the Kindle-like experience, where it's meant to be a fast way of navigating. And I find that sometimes it's a little bit slower when I'm broadcasting both my iPad, my computer, and my video all at the same time. So it's a little bit slower than it probably will be for you. But when you have rich data, things like section markers will be linked automatically so that you can scroll through pages real fast. You can zoom in, zoom out, whatever the case may be. But if you need further detail on something and it has a link to it, it will navigate to that issue. Or if I use the down arrows, I can flip through my sheets just like I would flip through a set of construction documents with paper, using the arrows or swiping left to right. I can measure, I can mark up right on my iPad. So I am at 11:15, so I think I will stop here, take any questions, maybe do a Q&A. And Aiden, I know we're probably a little bit behind schedule, but I don't think we're much behind schedule.
We're not too bad. You could take about 5 minutes for questions.
Okay. So I'll take questions, answers, anything I can show, anything you want clarity on. Happy to address them. And if nobody has any questions, if nobody's raising their hand, I can share one other thing too.
We got a few questions. Let's start. Mike Watson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was just wondering, you know, to make all this work, you have to develop the families that go along with that. Are there families readily available of objects out there, or is that kind of a process you have to go through and quite involved amount of time to develop those?
It depends on the tools you're using. So if you're using, like, I'm the one that I'm most familiar with right now, to be honest, is the Substation Design Suite by SDS, and they have quite a bit of content available in the 3D world, but it is a process to create some of that content as well.
Okay. And then on the workflows, are a lot of those predefined, or do you have to kind of start from scratch with those?
Those are really organization specific. There is, you know, they're generic. There's 10-step workflows, 5-step workflows, gridded workflows. They're configurable for whatever the workflow needs to be. I wouldn't say they're custom. It's customized. It's more configuration of who, because not every organization is going to have the same Scott Wolslager approving the workflow. For instance, there might be a director that needs to approve, or might be this person that needs to approve. It depends.
Okay. Have you integrated with like any asset management systems out there, like a there's several vendors out there. I probably shouldn't mention names, but any large systems where you can integrate your assets into a database?
We're talking about that with some customers right now. So, just an example of integration. So at the beginning of this, I talked about the data and how important it was. And really, this is an example of leveraging a 3D model, maybe just capturing a piece of equipment's serial number, their ID, the barcode scan, and then relating it to other information coming from other systems. So if I click on this object or this valve in this model, and showing me real-time temperature acceleration information about what is happening with this valve. So just by having that common serial number in the model graphic, for instance, I can link this to other systems because it's relatable. So the way that I explain this to people, we can use this Forge API in the viewer to integrate anything that we want, data streams from any place that we want. It's as long as there's something that we can integrate it by and give the user the interface to that they want to use.
Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's do one more question. Jay Howard.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
When it comes to transmittals and revisions of manufacturer's drawings, how is that tracked?
So I didn't do a good job of showing this part. I kind of rifled through a lot of things. So let me go back here and just show you real quick. This project is better data. So on the documents, you'll always see this version number here. Basically, anytime it changes, it increments the version number. So if I click on that, I can compare multiple versions. So I can say, what's the difference between that one and that one? So it doesn't matter if it's an iPart, if you're using Inventor, an IPT file, a DWG file, a DGN file, an assembly file, a Navisworks file, you're always going to have the record of the previous versions within this document management window. And this is really going slow for some reason. It usually isn't this slow. You'll always have the comparison option. That's not necessarily related back to a transmittal all the time. But it can be because I can see that these documents are part of the transmittal and it was version 2 during that transmittal. If it's version 3 now, I need to know that, right? So I need to transmit that information again or let the person know that the data changed. And you can do that through a workflow as well. I hope that didn't confuse you. I hope that answered your question.
Receives these documents and in order for them to be updated in the workflow, would there be a separate individual doing that where you would begin to see different revisions and then you know that there's different revision of a particular piece of equipment?
Yeah, I think that's really client specific. So, in some cases, it's just, I don't know what takes a piece of equipment's in here. There's disconnect switches, see what's in here, if anything. Yeah, let's say that this switch changed. So this version number would be incremented to the next version automatically. Now, this is where document distribution comes in, is what information does everybody see versus what information is yours. So what is probably most common is I wouldn't have this document released or this part released to everybody until it was approved by somebody. So that's what the submit for review process is for, is to walk through a process that is the correct part and it's getting published out for all the construction and field personnel to view. If I don't publish it out or approve it to be seen by everybody else, nobody else will see it. So it's pretty critical to define a workflow that who needs this and when they need it, and who has the ability to actually do that, and say that this is the new part that's going to be used for this instance on all projects. So you have to have kind of a librarian in a sense, and that's why these approval workflows are flexible, because it could be a different person approving construction documents versus standard parts that are being used in assemblies. But there's workflows for everything. And this is not I don't want to set the expectation that this is a turnkey solution that you can just start using tomorrow and you're going to have all your approval workflows and stuff defined. It does take some time to plan out those processes and to evaluate, how are we going to do this and how are we going to interact with our vendors the best. I could say that we're working with multiple utility companies on trying to figure just this out right now.
Scott, I would add to that the reason for that is a lot of folks are trying to keep it the same if it works for them, but a lot of folks are taking the opportunity to integrate a lot of this new technology and figure out new workflows, not just essentially replicating the same old thing they've done forever. So, and that's where we spend a lot of time really helping document and understand where folks want to go with this.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for all your questions, everyone. Thanks a lot, Scott. I think we will go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break so we can be back here at about